and welcome to the Channel 4 Nightly News. I'm Erica, here with my co-anchor,
Christine Pratt.
and today we've got a big story for you. That story is going to be about big data. Let's get started with Ronnie and Zi Chong with the most obvious of questions. What is big data?
Hello America, this is Ronnie Eichhoff.
Hi, this is Zi Chong.
And today we're going to be reporting on big data. What is big data, you may ask?
Big data. Big data is a buzzword in the catchphrase to describe those mass volume of both structured and unstructured data. And company has the most difficulty to deal with. In most enterprise scenario, data is too big or too difficult or to move too fast. And sometimes big data has a potential way to help companies to improve their operations and make fast and intelligent decisions. When dealing with a large data set, big organization face difficulty in being able to help to create, to manipulate, and manage big data. And sometimes this can be a problem because standard tools and procedures are not designed for research and analyze those massive data. Now, may I ask, what's the important thing for big data?
Well, according to many industry analysts, there are three important points to consider. These three important points are referred to as the three V's. They stand for volume, velocity, and variety. All right, so first, volume refers to the amount of data being stored by these different organizations. Massive amounts of data are being streamed in every single day and sent to these collection centers for processing. Some examples are transaction-based data, social media-based data, and consumer-based data. All right, next we got velocity. Velocity refers to the speed at which this data is flowing in. This data is flowing in at extremely high speeds, so it's difficult to actually make sense of what this data means. All right, next is variety. Variety refers to the different types of data that's being brought into these organizations. All right, some examples are structured data, numeric data, text documents, email, video, financial transactions, and audio. All right, so now you guys are familiar with what big data is. All right, so now the real question is, what are these organizations doing with our data? All right, many private citizens are concerned with if these organizations are violating their privacy. That is the real question at hand.
Thank you, Ronnie and Zi Chong. Now we'll go to Francisco with the weather.
Good afternoon. This is Francisco reporting from beautiful Cal State Fullerton to give you the weather forecast for today and the rest of the week. As you can see, it's sunny. There's no chance of rain, and the weather will be in the mid-90s. Excellent weather to go outside. So you shouldn't be worried about that. But one thing you should be worried about is big data and how big data is collected. Big data is collected in two ways. There's the traditional way and there's the digital way. Traditional way basically tracks your sales, any purchases that you make, your financial records, surveys you fill out, and applications you fill out for job, loans, or things like that. The traditional data is basically for internal purposes, to forecast, to give you real forecasts, not weather forecasts, and to track how well the company is doing. The traditional way has been ongoing for several decades, and so now the catch with that is the traditional data gets shared within subsidiaries, and it can also be shared with the industry or sold to other companies. The digital way is ways that you do search on the web, your media that you like, dislike, ways that you track your health by Fitbit or Nike Plus, also GPS devices. They track all that, and they do use it for internal purposes, but mainly they package it and sell it to other companies. So if you want to boycott all these big data plans, make sure you go outside, enjoy the weather, and don't use any devices that can track you.
Wow, Francisco, you look like you had a rough night.
I've been there before.
Now let's go to Matt, investigating more about how it's collected.
How's it going, everyone? we're here to talk a little bit more about data collection. Francisco touched a little bit on the new ways of collecting data. I'm here to tell you about the newer ways. Every time you're online, they're watching you. Every website you go to, anything you buy online is being collected and processed, and you are becoming a number. The largest website that does this is Axiom. They claim that they have over 1,500 pieces of data on the average consumer of over 200 million US citizens. That means when you buy something, they know. They can sell it to other marketers, other consumers. That's why you see spam email, random letters sent to your house about refining your car, and other things. Now, when we get to it, there are no laws regulating big data. So your information besides your healthcare and your credit information can be sold to anybody who's willing to pay for it. So let's get into it a little bit more. When you're online, there are a lot of things that can happen. If you've been watching the news recently, Chase has been hacked, celebrities' iClouds have been hacked, Home Depot has been hacked, all that information is out there. People know what you're doing, they know what you're buying, they know what you need. And they will sell that to whoever is willing to pay the price. Tech companies are lobbying incredibly hard to make sure that federal regulations do not happen for big data. They don't want them not being able to sell your information because right now big data has become one of the largest money makers in America. So just remember, when you're online, when you're going to those websites you probably shouldn't be at, somebody's paying attention to it. Somebody's watching you. And if you really want to look and see that I'm not kidding, go to aboutthedata.com. Type in your information, your name, your social security number, and you'll be amazed at how much info they have on you. Thank you.
Wow, Matt, you had way too much coffee.
Now that we've looked at what big data is all about and how it's being collected, let's look at the advantages. There are 5 main advantages. First of all, it allows for dialogue with consumers. Big data allows companies to easily find out what consumer thinks of their products as well as suggest products based on what they've purchased. For example, when you put something in your cart on Amazon.com, they frequently post other products you may be interested in, and if you decide to buy, that's great for the companies because they can potentially gain sales if the customer decides to buy a suggested item. Also, big data allows companies to create new revenue streams. This ties in with our previous point. By suggesting things to customers that they may potentially buy, companies can make more money. This is also useful in other industries as well. The app Shazam listens to a song you want to find the name of and collects the data for all of the music people are interested in listening to. This information is then relayed to record labels to help them know what types of music to market in certain demographics and areas, based on the location services provided in the app. Big data also allows companies to redevelop products. They'll find out what consumers think of their products and realize what may make them better or work more efficiently. This can help them change marketing ideas, the efficiency of how a component works, or the entire product itself if need be. Also, big data allows companies to perform risk analysis. Big data can scan and analyze newspaper articles and allows for companies to know what's happening in their industry and environment at all times. Because this is useful because success also depends on how social and economic factors are shaping the environment that your business operates in. Lastly, big data can help keep your data safe. Big data tools can be used to map a company's entire data landscape and allows for easier findings of internal threats that may be happening from employees. The benefits of big data can make a difference on how a company operates, either with the customers or consumers internally. It seems like a flawless idea if you ask me, but I think Bajan may have something else to say about it.
Thank you, Erica. While big data certainly offers its share of benefits, there are also difficulties that arise with it. One difficulty with big data in the business world is that pooling all the data into one collection is extremely challenging because the different departments that are responsible for collecting data are usually interested in their own position with the company instead of how the company is faring. So even if that issue was solved though, data scientists would still have to conquer the obstacle that is human nature. Yes, even in the business world, most people go with their intuition instead of numbers, no matter how concrete the numbers may be. Besides just the problems in the business world, there are also concerns that the general population may become too reliant on it. Although big data is excellent at finding correlations among data sets, it is not so great at finding meaningful results among the correlations. For example, it might find that men who wear designer jeans are more likely to be victims of homicide. I just made that last one up though. Another drawback is that some people will likely cheat the system for their personal benefit. If there's some algorithm that a system runs on, then they might find a way to satisfy that algorithm while doing considerably less work than their coworkers. So it will take time to get over the growing pains of adapting big data, so it might be wise to implement change slowly to give more traditional people time to settle into it. On top of the cheating problem, big data can also sometimes be just plain wrong. The biggest example of this was Google Flu Trends. It was a program that launched in 2008. And it was launched to predict flu outbreaks around the world. So from 2008 to 2010, it was doing okay. It was mostly correct. But from 2011 to 2013, its flaws were exposed, and it overestimated the amount of flu outbreaks that would occur. So, however, though, even if all the information is correct, then entities still might use it for something that cannot be measured in quantifiable terms. It would be wrong to use big data to build like a list of the greatest books ever, because that's something that is subjective. But they may try regardless, which would be bad for all of us.
So now that companies have all this big data, how are they using it? What can they do with this massive amount of information? First of all, companies can use big data to predict what customers want before they want it. Using data to track past purchases, websites visited, where they live, etc., companies can promote the right products to the right customers. This ensures more effective marketing and product development. Next, it can be used to improve customer service interactions. A customer service rep won't need to ask as many questions if they already know the answers. So when you call their service line, all the relevant information is there in front of them. Big data can also help in identifying customer complaints and helping to solve the problems. For example, Delta collected data on customer complaints and found that the biggest complaint related to lost luggage. The company then implemented an app that would take pictures of luggage tags and allow customers to track their own luggage. Finally, big data can be used to reduce healthcare costs, improve treatment, manage chronic diseases. Hospitals use analytics to better understand each patient's condition, past health issues, lifestyle, work, and home life. Some examples of companies using analytics would be Target. Target tracks purchases in order to determine what products to advertise. Creditech uses more than 8,000 sources, including social media, to create a unique credit score for consumers and then sells them to banks and other lenders. Google collects vast amount of data and uses it to create a data profile for each visitor. Facebook does the same thing. This allows them to provide specialized marketing and advertising to the visitor. Obama himself hired data analysts to identify undecided voters. As you can see, big data has multiple applications across many industries. So companies have all these uses for big data, but who's actually doing the work? This is where companies hire data scientists. A data scientist is an individual that performs statistical analysis, data mining, and retrieval processes on a large amount of data to identify trends, figures, and other relevant information. They perform data analysis on data stored in data warehouses or data centers to solve a variety of business problems, optimize performance, and gather business intelligence. And they are key to decoding big data. These scientists have the ability to find patterns in billions of pieces of data, infer how customers will behave, and create statistical models that pinpoint behavioral triggers. People call them unicorns because the combination of skills required is so rare. Here are some examples of real-life jobs for data scientists. At Etsy, for instance, a biostatistics PhD who spent years mining medical records for early signs of breast cancer now writes statistical models to figure out the terms people use when they search Etsy for a new fashion they saw on the street. At mobile payment startup Square Incorporated, a PhD in cognitive psychology who wrote statistical models to examine how people change their political beliefs, now looks for behavioral patterns that would identify which merchants are more likely to have clients demand their money back. Another 28-year-old at Yelp with a PhD in applied mathematics turned his dissertation research on genome mapping into a product used by the company's advertising team. The same genome mapping algorithm is now used to measure the effect on consumers when multiple small changes are made to online ads. Thank you. Wow, that is some truly interesting information.
Thank you for tuning into the Channel 4 News team and our nightly news special on big data. You stay classy, Titans.
Thanks for stopping by,
But mostly stay classy, Titans.
but also thanks for stopping by.